Welcome to episode 541. Don Valentine, one of the two godfathers of venture capitalists in the world. The other is Tom Perkins, but he is not Italian. This is an outline of episode 541. There are 3 reasons we study Don Valentine. First, he's the godfather of venture capitalists because Sequoia Capital is the most successful VC firm in the world. Second, he has a sales background instead of a technical background, and he did not attend an Ivy League school. Third, he's one of the early investors in Apple Computer, the most valuable company in the world. Let us meet Tom Perkins.
In which each project had to make a contribution of at least a factor of 10. So they sought high risk, they managed it carefully, they got rid of the risk up front, and then they poured in the money. And that is the fundamental lesson of venture capital. And Packard was such an entrepreneur himself that while I was starting and building the computer business for Hewlett-Packard, which has done pretty well, he let me start my own company in the laser business.
Let us meet Don Valentine.
This industry.
Don?
I would like to correct the record. I came 1,000 miles to be here from Montana only to be identified with a major criminal. I mean, the Godfather is not an image that I hope my grandchildren recognize.
And we're running out of horses' heads.
I wanted to talk about the yellow brick road that Sequoia Capital has been on. A startup company I joined in 1959, Silicon. The word Silicon Valley hadn't been created yet.
Don Valentine was born in 1932 in New York. He was a young rebel. His father was a trucker with the Teamsters.
It's easier to explain he drove a truck than it is to explain what he did in the union, because I didn't understand what he did in the union other than fight with the head of the union. And we used to have a lot of arguments once I understood what a union was, and he couldn't understand why I was so adamantly opposed to the unions. It probably has to do with my deep-seated sense of disobedience.
In 1954, he graduated from Fordham University. In the early 1960s, he spent 7 years working at Fairchild SemiConductor, where he met and learned his trade in the silicon business. In 1972, at the age of 40, he raised $5 million and founded Sequoia Capital. The first company he invested was Atari Computer. His second most important investment was in Apple Computer.
In 1976, the only people who believed in the personal computer club, 21-year-old Steve Jobs had partnered with Steve Wozniak to create a circuit board kit they called the Apple I.
But I said, call Don Valentine, because Don had a high probability of seeing the opportunity.
So we had our meeting. I went to Steve's house and we talked, and I was convinced it was a big market just embryonically beginning. Steve was in his Fu Manchu look, and his question for me, tell me what I have to do to have you finance me. I said, we have to have someone in the company who has some sense of management and marketing and channels of distribution. He said, fine, send me 3 people. I sent him 3 candidates. One he didn't like, one didn't like him, and the third one was Mike Markkula. Mike Markkula worked for me at Fairchild before he went to Intel.
Here are Don Valentine's 4 most famous investments. Number 1, Atari Computer. Number 2, Apple Computer. Number 3, Oracle Database. Number 4, Cisco Routers. The following are 3 of his most famous partners at Sequoia Capital. First, Michael Moritz. Second, Doug Leone. Third, Neil Shen. And unlike them, they are all immigrants. And also, unlike him, they all went to Ivy League schools with multiple degrees. Now, Sequoia Capital's secret source of success.
But let me begin by talking about a question that's often asked. I do a lot of the interviewing and recruiting of people joining Sequoia. I ask them about is why do you want to join Sequoia? Assuming you think we're successful, why do you think we're successful? Many or most of the people in the venture business historically would answer that question by telling you they finance the best and brightest, the greatest managers and all that stuff. We do not. We have always focused on the market. The size of the market, the dynamics of the market, the nature of the competition, because our objective always was to build big companies. If you don't attack a big market, it's highly unlikely you're ever going to build a big company. So we don't spend a lot of time wondering about where people went to school, how smart they are, and all the rest of it. We're interested in their idea about the market they're after, the magnitude of the problem they're solving, and what can happen if, in fact, the combination of Sequoia and the individuals are correct.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and leave your questions and comments below. My next video will be Don Valentine, 10 Lessons. Wishing everyone peace and prosperity.